Massive layoffs, factory closures, and rising competition are shaking the very foundation of Germany's industrial strength.
We're talking about blanket cuts of pay of workers at Volkswagen by 10% across the board. Volkswagen talking about closing 3 German factories for the very first time in its 90-year history in Germany.
Saying that right now their costs for making a car in Germany are around 25 to 50% higher than they need to be, and they say they just simply cannot make money the way things are right now, which is why some serious discussions need to be had.
Volkswagen Automotive Group is one of the largest automakers in the world, and arguably the most iconic brand to exist, creating everything from the VW minibus that drove the hippie movement all around America to creating the punch buggy that is responsible for more bruises on my body than I care to admit. The situation for VW is more dire than the world realizes, and the situation is getting worse. So much so, I'm not really sure if VW will exist in the next 10 years if they don't course correct. Volkswagen is caught in a perfect storm of disaster, and it's likely going to destroy the company, or at minimum, bring them to their heels. The reason for this is multifaceted and can be boiled down to what I believe are 3 key reasons. 1, electrification. 2, poor corporate management. And 3, labor unions. Volkswagen, along with other automakers, are essentially being forced to create electric vehicles. Whether you are pro-EV or not, the reality is that by forcing these companies to manufacture products they aren't skilled in developing is hurting both producer and consumer. Producers like Volkswagen are not yet ready, but have to put a product out on the market, and consumers thus purchase a subpar product at a high price. Unless you are okay losing thousands of dollars, this is a lose-lose situation for both parties involved. Volkswagen is learning and adapting to electrification, but the process is much slower than it would be with normal petrol or diesel vehicles. And that's simply due to the fact that VW is not a tech company, and EVs are extremely tech-heavy. The argument that EVs are more simple is false. Mechanically, they are, but with the associated technology that the consumer wants, it's extremely complicated. Automakers have only recently created decent infotainment systems, and now we are asking them to skip the development cycle and create a rocket ship when they haven't even developed the blueprints. Compounding the problem for Volkswagen, the European Union permitted the entrance of Chinese-made electric vehicles, which are generally regarded by EV enthusiasts as superior vehicles, and they cost around $10,000 less than competitor vehicles. VW simply cannot compete with these models like the BYD Seal, which retails for around $45,000, while the VW ID.7 will retail for around $50,000. People will ultimately shop with their wallet, especially as the prices of cars continue to climb. Every dollar seems to count more and more. The EU realized the folly of allowing complete and unfettered access by automakers like BYD and has since raised tariffs on Chinese vehicles to 45%. Quote, the tariffs, which became effective on October 30th, were imposed to counter what the EU says are unfair subsidies, including preferential financing, grants, as well as land, batteries, and raw materials at below market prices. This shift in the market simply doesn't make any sense. VW has really begun to perfect their internal combustion engines. I in fact use a base model VW Jetta as a delivery vehicle for my energy drink company because loading 40 plus cases in a vehicle and having the capability to get 40 plus miles to the gallon is pretty incredible. And VW is one of the last to still offer a manual transmission. VW is also facing what feels like a forever debt crisis. Aside from the fact that Dieselgate cost VW $34.5 billion, which, to be honest, seems pretty ridiculous considering every automaker was doing it. They also owe more than $240 billion, and many experts in the field think it's actually closer to $400 billion. The debt is so bad, they owe potentially the same amount as the country of Sweden. Their GDP ratio is somewhere between Portugal and Belgium. This can be attributed to a few factors, including VW being one of the most generous companies when it pertains to auto loans and leasing programs, poor management, and not providing customers what they actually want, an affordable price vehicle, like what they were founded on. Take, for instance, the VW ID Buzz, a rendition to the VW Bus, which is still an iconic vehicle. In VW's clever thinking, they created a vehicle that is $60,000 and has poor range. Many people don't have 60 grand lying around and will likely finance it, and because of VW's fast and loose financing options, VW in the end will be holding the bags. We can accurately predict this with trends in applying what VW corporate seems to lack: critical thinking and forward planning. Take electric vehicles. On average, in 1 to 2 years, they will depreciate by 50%. So if a customer buys the VW ID Buzz for $60,000 excluding fees, pays on it for 2 years, that puts them at $42,000 still owed. The vehicle will be worth approximately $30,000. So now they are upside down $12,000. What happens if they can't pay it anymore and VW repossesses it and goes in for the resale? Both parties lose tens of thousands of dollars. Multiply this across the board with all their vehicles, and especially their new electric vehicles. And we can't forget the hidden truth that virtually no EV maker aside from Tesla makes a profit. So we really don't know how much VW is losing per EV they produce. The situation is simply unsustainable.
Nothing else matters for me.
Compounding the problem is labor unions. The original point of labor unions was to represent workers, prevent workers' abuse, and ensure workers were getting a fair wage. This probably was a good thing during those times like the Industrial Revolution, where conditions were borderline slavery. However, this is the 21st century, and any type of workers' abuse would easily be reported, and every social media platform and news agency would be reporting and capitalizing on it. Think about it. How many YouTube thumbnails have you been seeing for the past few years about the car market crashing? I'm still waiting, by the way. The labor union representing VW workers is IG Metall. According to Wikipedia, they have over 2.27 million members and generate roughly $582 million in revenue every year. IG Metall charges members approximately 1% of their annual gross salary. But the interesting part is when people are hired and choose whether to join the union or not, allegedly, IG Metall often uses scare tactics by claiming, quote, "You will be alone if you don't join. You won't ever get pay raises. Management is out to get you. We will protect you." Maybe they're right, but if the union was so beneficial, why do they actively try to hunt for new members at other manufacturing plants? Such is the case with Tesla's new Gigafactory in Berlin, which according to Reuters is the only car plant in Germany not governed by a collective wage agreement. According to Tesla and other reports on the ground in the Gigafactory, since the start of the Gigafactory Berlin-Brandenburg, IG Metall reportedly tried to cause unrest in our factory and put obstacles in the way of our success strategy. From the outside, it appears that IG Metall is seeking more members solely for the reason of increasing their more than $500 million a year in revenue, which if we analyze their leadership structure, it only solidifies IG Metall as strictly a business, as many of their presidents have never really worked a real job and have only worked in labor unions. Such is the case with their former president, George Hoffman, who has done two things in life: graduated university and worked in a labor union. The same is also true with their current president, Christine Benner. The problem with this is, how can you understand and lead a group of people you are supposed to represent when all you have done is go to school and work for labor unions? You've never gotten your hands dirty. Former CEO of VW, Herbert Dies, warned that it takes VW 3 times longer to manufacture a car in comparison with Tesla. Shortly after this statement, Herbert Dies was forced to step down as CEO. Nobody knows exactly why this happened, and we can only speculate. I, however, think this was forced because it would have generated an increase in efficiency, which would have led to less man hours in the factory and maybe even less workers, which means less money for IG Metall. And as of December 2024, it's been reported that IG Metall struck a deal with Volkswagen where they, quote, agreed to cut more than 35,000 jobs across the country in a socially responsible manner by 2030 in order to save some 15 billion euros. VW is now going to reduce man hours in their plants in Germany and is actively looking at moving more production to Mexico. One of the reasons this is happening is because IG Metall is demanding from VW an increase in worker salary, which means more money for IG Metall, but VW is not in that financial position. So IG Metall union members strike, because that, of course, will help business.
When the rain gathers.
What Germany and the EU leadership simply do not understand, their biggest companies are failing or outright leaving Europe, and it's the Europeans who will suffer from this. Take BASF, the largest chemical company in Europe and who employs over 100,000 people, has since closed 11 factories in Germany and are now relocating to China. Whether it's auto manufacturers or chemical plants, all parties involved need to be asking themselves why this is happening and take a deep look into what their future might be. Because from the outside, it looks grim, and I don't wish that on anyone. And I want VW to succeed.